First, let's look at the headline issues of the week. We bring in, as we do each week, Will Richmond, the digital news editor at the Herald News. Hey, Will, how are you?
I'm good, Keith. How are you doing?
Good. Big news this week locally. First announced by the Herald News yesterday, the retirement of Fall River Police Chief Dan Racines. He's had some health issues as of late, and it looks like these health issues are forcing him to retire. Fill us in on what you guys know as the latest.
Yeah, Chief Racines confirmed to us after, we've heard from various city officials yesterday afternoon that he would be retiring due to his health issues. This comes at the advice of his doctor, according to the chief, and certainly, family considerations as he also has two fairly young children at home. So he's set to retire and move into civilian life, it sounds like. And in the meantime, Deputy Chief Albert Dupere has been named the acting chief, which has traditionally been his role. He kind of steps into the that acting chief role when Racines has been out, whether it's for medical issues or for other reasons he may be out of the office. So at this point, that's the transition process, and we'll see a little bit longer term what might be the plan for a full-time replacement.
From the people your staff has spoken to, I'm sure thus far, they're both providing some kind words about the chief's time here in Fall River. He was well respected, well liked by a number of people. And what are some of the responses that you are hearing?
Yeah, those we spoke to spoke very highly of Chief Racines, especially other police chiefs, including George McNeil over in Somerset. Certainly gave his well wishes to the chief. We heard from Congressman Kennedy, who, in addition to working with him professionally, described Chief Racines as a friend. The two of them worked quite a bit in the last year to get Bristol County identified as a high-density trafficking area to hopefully help with the opioid problems in the area. Those others on staff and colleagues in the fire department, or cross-departmental with the fire department, we're also expressing their best wishes for Racines as he moves on into civilian life. So most people spoke kindly. I think, as we look back on the 6+ years of his career, there were mostly positives from the police department. Certainly, you hate to focus on the negatives at a time like this.
Right.
One of the ones that may have came up during his time frame was the incident with George Thompson over, an encounter with the cell phone that led to a settlement. But mostly high marks for the chief from people in the community.
I know this is literally still developing over the past day. Mayor's office at all have any indication on how they plan to move forward in terms of posting for the position and filling the position of what will be a new chief?
From the mayor's comments yesterday, there doesn't appear to be an immediate rush to determine that. I think they'll probably figure out what the long-term process will be. As of yesterday afternoon, while the chief had confirmed his retirement, nothing officially had been filed at this point. So I think that may, certainly they can start working on this in the backs of their heads. The official process, I don't think the clock has actually started on that yet.
All right, so we will definitely follow along through on this as it progresses. The other story I want to get into today is actually sort of a regional story that looks at both New Bedford and Fall River in a way that, growing up here in Fall River as a young child, there was always that friendly competition between Fall River and New Bedford, high school-wise, of course, with the sports teams. But also, there was a little bit of competition as well between the chambers of commerce. As you know, Will, not too long ago, the two chambers were actually in discussions about merging the chambers of commerce into one entity and calling it the South Coast Chamber of Commerce. That deal fell through, so we still have a Fall River and a New Bedford chamber. But this week it was reported that the New Bedford Chamber of Commerce is actually looking to use that South Coast name as they look to rebrand themselves. And that may cause some confusion in terms of how people refer to us here in this region. Tell us about that story.
Yeah, so it seems that the New Bedford Chamber had reached out to and reserved the name South Coast Chamber of Commerce. This was something they had done years back, I think, related to the potential merger discussions that had taken place. Uh, that name had lapsed in terms of the registering of it, so they re-upped on that, and as they indicated interest in using it, this has of course drawn the ire of the Fall River Chamber, which said, we went down this road once. We had a verbal agreement with previous directors of the New Bedford Chamber that neither group would use the South Coast name.
Mm-hmm.
They do share it for when they hold shared events such as the
Right.
Business Expo that took place a couple weeks ago. So some anger there, and certainly the confusion that could come in terms of what the South Coast Chamber would represent, who it would represent town-wise, and I don't think this will be the end of those discussions between the two chambers.
Yeah, I know when we now refer to the name of South Coast, we look at our entire region, basically from the Seekonk area, maybe even up to Attleboro, all the way down to just entering Cape Cod, just at the canal. So if the New Bedford Chamber were to change their name to South Coast, I can see how the Fall River Chamber of Commerce would be a little concerned that is this chamber now servicing us here in Fall River? Do we go to the Fall River Chamber? So we can see, I guess, where there would be some confusion.
Yes, certainly the name carries a lot, and I think even in your comment there saying, it goes from Seekonk maybe to Attleboro, not everyone is quite even sure what the South Coast
Yeah, exactly.
region is. So,
Exactly.
So it just adds to the confusion level.
Right. All right, Will, what's coming up in the next few days at the paper?
Yeah, this weekend we'll be taking a look at libraries in the region and how they are adapting to the digital age, trying to accommodate users beyond just the old books and encyclopedias of old. And we'll also be continuing our look, similar to you, on the ballot questions with a profile from the supporters and opponents of the expanded charter school issue.
All right, well, sounds good. We'll talk to you again next week. Thanks.
All right, have a good weekend, Keith.